All right, hello everybody. Thanks for coming out this afternoon. Today we have today's annual after the business part of our annual meeting. Let me get that right. We're gonna show we have some of the old Victory at Sea videos, movies actually, 16 millimeter. So we'll be playing one of those segments for you. They're World War II propaganda, basically World War II propaganda videos that came out in the 50s to try and get young people interested in going into the military. So these are the Victory at Sea series. You might have seen it on TV, but we happen to have it on 16 millimeter, so you get to hear it with the clicking and as it would have been in the 1950s. Hopefully our projector makes it through the meeting. If not, we do have a backup projector. So if that should die for some reason, you'll see me over there fooling around and getting it going. After that, we do have a slide presentation of some World War II slides, of some World War II era slides I put together. Some planes that were over at Hammer Airfield Base in Fresno, California. A lot of pictures of planes there. And then I have a bunch of photos that were taken in occupied Tokyo a month after the atomic bomb was dropped. Mostly aerial shots. They're kind of hard to understand, but I'll try and help point them out as we go through them. And then some photos of just what it was like as a military officer to be in occupied Japan during 1945, 1946. So I'll start with the business part of our annual meeting here. We have to elect our officers, and these elections, as you know, are a one-year term. I'm running for president if you guys choose to elect me. Lauren over here, I don't know if you want to stand up. Lauren's going to run for vice president. And I'd also like to thank Dan back there. He has been our vice president for 3 years. He has termed out. He cannot be vice president no more, so he has to take a break. Tyrene, who cannot be here today, and she's running for treasurer. And recording secretary is Deb Finley. I know she's here. There she is. So, can I get a motion to appoint these officers?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Continuing as we have a, thank you everybody. So we have a new director we're going to bring on board. As many of you may know, Kathleen Carlucci, she resigned as a director this past year. We also had, I'd like to thank him, Scott Cederbaum, he also resigned as a director, so I'd like to thank both of them for their service. And with that, we're appointing one new director along with our continuing term. So the directors to be reappointed are Russ, myself, Lauren, Jerry Rice, who cannot be here. He's on sabbatical right now. He's traveling. He's traveling around, sending us postcards from wherever he winds up. We're making sure he's still alive every month. So he's out doing that. And Byron Sondergaard, he's up for being reappointed as well. And Walter is being reappointed as a director again. And the new person filling in is Marilyn Matthews. She's going to be our new director right here in the front. So if I could get a motion to appoint them again?
So moved. So moved.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. So everybody will be happy to know. Everybody will be happy to know we still have $81,000 in the bank, which is pretty good. We actually didn't lose any money this year. As always, year to year, the society's expenses kind of remain flat. We expend, around $20-something thousand, and we bring in $20-something thousand. But this year we expended around $24,000, and I mean this year we brought in $24,000, and we've only expended $21,000. So we put a few extra $1,000 in the bank this year, which is really good, and we're hoping to do more for next year. It does seem like donations have been coming in more. We've been actually getting more donations and things. So just to go over, this past year was our 50th anniversary of the Historic Society. We had 18 events, including our 50th anniversary celebration gala that was at the Franklin Schoolhouse. We started off in March with the Nixon Nitration Works over at Cypress Brewing House. We had an event there, which was really good and generated a lot of membership and some, what do you call it, revenue as well. We had Tri-County History Day. We had the Metuchen Cemetery cleanup. We had a 50th, for our 50th anniversary, the Metuchen Borough gave us a proclamation where we got to go to Borough Hall and receive it from the mayor. As well as, I should mention, Commissioner Tamaro got us a proclamation as well from the county commissioners, which was really nice. He did that as well and presented that to us. We also had Middlesex County History Day. We then attended, some of our members attended the founding member of Petland in Metuchen. They had like a celebration of his life at Roosevelt Park. We attended that this year. We also attended 2 events this year, but we had an event at the Danish Home, which is now the Danish Home Museum and Cultural Center. Rick Thorne right here is the president of that organization. If you've never been to the Danish Home in Edison on Durham Road, I encourage you to go. It's really cool. It's a really cool museum. They have several events during the year. You can go there and have a great time, you know, even if you're not Danish, or maybe you want to be Danish, just, you know, just see Rick, he'll make you Danish. Also, we had at the society participated in the Edison Memorial Day Parade, which ended here. I brought out my tractor, brought out the hay cart, and I took the board members from Delton Community Center all the way over here. And we parked here, and we had the Edison Memorial Day Parade here, so that was pretty cool. I plan on doing that again this year in Edison as well as in Metuchen. So anybody that wants to join, walk with us. If there's room, get on the cart. You feel free to join in, but we are going to do that again this year. We also have Piscataway Town History Day, which kind of ended early because it was way too hot. So we then did have a second Piscataway History Day Part 2 later in the year, where me and Walter did a cemetery tour and put out some signs and pictures of who was buried in the cemetery, so you could put a face to the grave, as well as different landscapes. So in other words, we put a picture of what it used to look like, a landscape, what it used to look like, and say you were here. So you're standing here and you're looking at the photo and you see what used to be there. So you got to see the old houses in the background, some that are still standing. Of course, many are not standing no more. So we were able to do that. We also had a tour of the First Presbyterian Church Cemetery this year. We also had the history of Middlesex County, which was done by the Mason Lodge, that we all got to go to and tour the Mason Lodge in Metuchen. That was a really nice program. And then Steve and Tyrene were so nice to open up their house this year. They live in a historic house in Metuchen. It is an original historic house. I don't think they've touched anything. And they opened it up to give us a tour. And I encourage, if they do that again and you're a member, I mean, go out to Metuchen, see Steve and Tyrene's house. It's absolutely amazing. If you're into historical homes, I mean, they've kept it pristine. If they didn't purchase that house, 98?
Yeah.
In 98, it probably would be destroyed already. A builder would have took it and it would have been destroyed, and you'd have a new McMansion there, or a fancy house there. So really appreciate that. If that event comes around again, I really encourage everybody to sign up and go take a look at their houses. Absolutely unbelievable. And then again, we had our 50th celebration at the Franklin Schoolhouse. I appreciate everybody who came and the kind words. So that's it for this year. I mean, that we did this year for our 50th. 17 or 18 events. Next year we're looking to do probably about 12 events or so. Again, all the local history events, you know, Middlesex County History Day, Tri-County History Day, things like that. We'll be doing another colonial cemetery Metuchen cleanup. We'll be having the Piscataway Town, cemetery tours, probably 2 of them this year, at least 1. And then we plan on also having a trolley ride this year. I'm gonna get a trolley, gonna have a trolley bus for members who would like to join us, and we're gonna take the old trolley route. And we're gonna drive around to the old trolley route and make a day out of it. Stay tuned for that. We don't have all the details yet, but we're working on it. So that highlights the stuff. In a minute, I'm gonna have Bob come up and talk about his symposium, but again, After Bob's done, I'm gonna start playing the movie. We'll dim the lights, hopefully, and we'll go from there. So I really,
Two things I want to mention is it's 125th anniversary of Metuchen as a borough, and I think we're going to be fairly involved with that, the history aspect. And also the Colonial Cemetery in Metuchen got a huge grant from the county, and I think without the Historical Society, that never would have happened. So
right,
that was
so
a big deal.
thanks for reminding me. So I'll speak to that for a minute. We got a grant from the county for $250,000, and Tyrene was really instrumental in getting that done, and it's for the Colonial Cemetery in Metuchen. It's a lot of money. We already have some ideas that we would like to do, but Tyrene's gonna work them out with the, with the gatekeepers of the money, and we're gonna get some things done over there. So it's $250,000 for a cemetery. It's just unbelievable. And this year at Local History Day, and stay tuned for that, I believe we're gonna have it on March 2nd, Local History Day this year, but we'll have to,
Yeah, that's right.
yeah, March 2nd, we're gonna have Local History Day, and it's gonna be Metuchen themed because it is the 125th anniversary of Metuchen. So we don't have all the details yet, but we're thinking about doing Metuchen through the years, so as you walk around through the tables where we normally set up in the Metuchen Library, you'll kind of be taken through, old Metuchen to Metuchen today, Main Street today. So I think that's the theme we're gonna keep with. Plus, this is a great opportunity because we have a lot of Metuchen history in the archive, so we're gonna be able to bring out some of the really nice stuff. So again, I'll hand it off to Bob now, who'd like to talk about his program he has coming up, and I'll play the video after that. Thank you so much, everybody, and thank you for electing me again, President, I really appreciate it.
Good afternoon, I'm Bob Barth, I'm from Somerset County. Somerset County, my wife and I put together a group of 10 historic organizations to create 4 symposiums. We're up to our 3rd one coming up on March 15th, and the symposiums are about Middlebrook. Who knows what the Middlebrook encampments were?
Revolutionary
War. 1. That's why we created these symposiums. Have you heard of Valley Forge?
Yes.
Have you heard of Morristown?
Yes.
In the middle was Middlebrook. And there were 2 encampments there. One was right after the Battle of Princeton in 1777, and then the winter of 78-79 was the second one. We called it a cantonment. We've had 2 symposiums already. We've had a lot of authors come. We've had a lot of experts on the Revolutionary War come. This year, on March 15th at Raritan Valley Community College, we have 5 speakers. Richard Veit, you may have heard of, is going to talk about the archaeology of Middlebrook. David Lang, our own town crier in Somerville, is going to talk about the Battle of Bound Brook. Who's heard of the Battle of Bound Brook? A few, that's better. Michael Beck, who is on our committee, has created a video titled The Battle for New Jersey, the Forage Wars. And that's basically what this symposium is about, the Forage Wars. We have my friend Bill Welsh, who is going to talk about the 2 Middlebrook armies. Do you realize after the Battle of Princeton, George didn't have much of an army at all up in Morristown? He spent the whole winter, that's the spring of 1777, creating an army, literally from scratch. And then the next year after that, 77, 78, he had to do it all over again because of the short enlistments, etc. Very, very fascinating story. We have a Dan McCarthy coming, talking about the Hessians at Middlebrook, so we're going to learn about the British point of view. Hessians also, as you may have known, worked for the British. They were conscripted by the British. And he'll be talking about their point of view about the Middlebrook encampments. And the last one is Larry Kidder, which you may have heard about, who's involved with the 10 Crucial Days. Who's heard of the 10 Crucial Days? Boy, you guys got a lot to learn. This is great. Well, he's going to be talking about the New Jersey militia, and this area was very active with the New Jersey militia. So, to get on this, I have some cards in the back. I can be happy to give you a card. It's going to be on the 15th of March. It's all day at Raritan Valley Community College, and you'll learn a lot. You can go on the Heritage Trails website to sign up for it, and I'll answer any questions. Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks, Bob. Whatever you think.
And now, Melanesian nightmare. The new Japanese target, Port Moresby, only 300 miles north of Australia, key to a vast strategic area. Daily come the bombers, daily comes destruction. Port Moresby blocks Japan's complete control of New Guinea, of Australia. It must be smashed. It must be taken. The formidable Owen Stanley mountain range stands between the Japanese base of Yuma in northern New Guinea and Port Moresby in the south. Miles of jagged hills and gloomy gorges, steep escarpments and trackless jungle, a frightful natural barrier. But in July 1942, the Japanese began to move over the mountains. In their earlier amphibious attempt to take Port Moresby, they were turned back by the United States Navy at the Battle of the Coral Sea. Now the Japanese are forced into an overland trek of 1,000 man-killing miles to reach their target. Outside Port Moresby, where the Japanese must be met and stopped, is a steaming, tangled nightmare of tropical undergrowth and malarial mountains. This is the part of the world called Melanesia, the Black Islands. For the Allied soldiers, sailors and airmen who must throw back the Japanese, the Melanesian nightmare begins. Papuan guides thread the troops through the jungle labyrinth. Australian infantry has stopped the Japanese a scant 30 miles from Port Moresby. Now it is the Allies who must advance through tortuous New Guinea, against a foe fiercely resisting. Months of bitter, brutal combat. But the Allies push inexorably forward into the strategic Dobodura Plain with its vital airstrip, only 6 miles from New Guinea's north coast. The Japanese retreat becomes a rout. Enemy garrisons give up Yuma, Gona, Salamanda, North Coast bases that will serve as stepping stones for future Allied advance. For both sides, the campaign has been a horror of death, wounds, disease. In March 1943, American air reconnaissance discovers a major Japanese move to strengthen their hold on the rest of New Guinea. A troop convoy of 16 ships sets out from Rabaul and heads into the Bismarck Sea. Dispatches come indicating 8 enemy troop transports and 8 destroyers on the way. Allied airmen make ready to nullify the Japanese threat with every available plane, bomb, bullet. Is a major victory of planes over ships. All 8 enemy transports are sunk. More than 3,000 Japanese soldiers perish. Only 4 destroyers escape. Miles from the Bismarck Sea, throughout the United States, shipyards are building a new amphibious navy, and strange new ships called LST, landing ship tanks. These will change the pattern of war. The Second World War has evolved into the first great amphibious conflict in history, and landing craft take priority over destroyers, carriers, and everything else. Down the rivers of the United States, into the oceans of the world, plot the LSTs. Landing ship tanks, but she will be used for everything else as well. And loading her for combat becomes a job for experts. The 2,100 tons of materiel she carries must be stowed aboard in precise sequence and proper order, so that what is needed worst can be put ashore quickest when she joins battle on some remote beachhead. Throughout Australia, throughout the Southwest Pacific, the Allies shift from dogged defense to spirited assault. Beginning in the summer of 1943, the men, the ships, the materiel flow in a massive surge west and north toward Mindanao and the distant Philippines. General MacArthur's strategy has long called for an advance along the New Guinea-Mindanao axis. This advance will be borne largely by small amphibious craft, a navy without flounder. These men know only hard work, hard living, hard fighting, and hard-won victories. Now the LSTs, the floating garages, come into their own. Loading techniques blueprinted in advance become actuality. Pile it in, stuff them full, and every item finds its designated place. Wing Commander, Southwest Pacific Area, accompanies the assault troops with Rear Admiral Barbie, commander of the 7th Amphibious Force. I shall return, MacArthur has said, referring to the Philippines. The fulfillment has seemed remote. Now the return begins. From Sydney, from Brisbane, into the Coral Sea, into the Bismarck Sea, along the northern New Guinea coast, move the Allied armies and navies. These are combined operations, carried out by the forces of several nations working in closely welded units. Ships of the Royal Australian Navy do yeoman service with the convoys, fight with all they have in battle. Nassau Bay, Salomao, Leyte, Pinchot, Saido. These are footholds along the New Guinea coast, needed for Allied progress westward. The approach is covered, stealthy, cloaked in darkness. And night in the convoy is tense, silent, strained. Dawn will bring the test of combat, the ordeal of fire. Everywhere the Japanese resist with fortitude, fury, determination. Cut out from their bases, with retreat impossible, they fight the losing battle for New Guinea. More rugged, more useful than even their designers dreamed, the LSTs nose into the shore and disgorge their torrent of supplies. The wealth and ingenuity that has made America great in peace combine to make her victorious in war. The Imperial Japanese Command, having lost the initiative, falls back on the tenacity of the foot soldier. All the strength that can be spared from other theaters is mustered to hold Western New Guinea for the Empire. But Allied power mounts more swiftly than the Japanese can retard it. Operations that would have seemed sheer fantasy a year earlier become routine reality. The inland village of Nasta, which commands an escape route for the Japanese and boasts a usable airstrip, is the target. 300 planes from fields at Fort Moresby and Dobadura will lift 1,700 paratroopers, the Pacific's most spectacular airborne assault. Whether the invading troops find their footholds on New Guinea from the air or from the sea, the jungle is equally cruel, the enemy just as malevolent. But the Allied infantry learns what the Marines have proved on Guadalcanal. Skill, courage, and superior equipment defeat the Japanese. The New Guinea natives are primitive and warlike. Headhunting and sorcery are part of their lives. But an enlightened colonial administration has won their loyalty. As pathfinders and guides, they lead Allied patrols through secret trails, bring up mail and supplies, and help maintain isolated outposts deep in the jungle. But it is sea power that makes possible the longest stride along the axis leading from New Guinea to Mindanao. With increasing mastery of the amphibious technique, landing follows landing on a smooth, uninterrupted schedule. Over a period of 18 months, the Allies average a new landing every 35 days. And each new foothold is converted into a staging area for the next leap along the New Guinea coast. wins a new designation from the crews of the LST. Large, slow targets. But they get there. They deliver their goods, their punch. Admiral Nimitz, Commander-in-Chief of the United States Pacific Fleet, and General MacArthur work out the grand design for the westward advance. Nimitz supports MacArthur, making possible huge leapfrog jumps along New Guinea's coast. With Itate and Hollandia, the Allies will be 400 miles nearer to the goal, nearer to the Philippines. Carriers support the Hollandia operation, which is beyond the reach of land-based planes. The enemy is taken by surprise. The fine anchorage of Humboldt Bay and 3 airstrips are wrested from the Japanese. Smoke screen to cloak ever more landing troops. And the advance goes relentlessly on, north and west, Alloway, Wakta and Biak, Lumpur and Sansapur. Sansapur is on the uttermost western tip of New Guinea, and with it the entire coast is in Allied hands. But the advance does not stop. In September 1944, the Allies swarm ashore on the island of Morotai, on the threshold of the Philippines. More than 135,000 enemy troops have been bypassed, cut off without hope of rescue. In a little over 12 months, Allied forces in the Southwest Pacific stormed 1,300 miles closer to the heart of the Japanese Empire. These brave men know less thing. God grant they know their victory. In Tokyo, throughout Japan, a weird, an unreal atmosphere of victory and invincibility still prevails. A feverish, fraudulent security shrouds the islands. Reports from all the battlefronts tell of nothing but Japanese triumph, Allied disaster. But beneath the cheering oozes out the hideous truth. Back from the battlefronts come the white boxes with the ashes of the dead, the fallen. Welcome home, young man. You were ours, and they took you away. You are no more. Suns may set and rise, but you must sleep on during one never-ending night.
Well, it made it. I hope everybody enjoyed it. We have a bunch more. There's 26 segments altogether. Maybe if we get interest sometime in the future, we could play more of them. Maybe have an event and maybe here and play them all day.
It's a must-have.
So, but thank you very much.
We rescued these. Dan back there rescued these. These were scheduled to be dumped. I don't know if Dan wants to say anything about it, but he crawled in the building, rescued these. We got them out. We got the old projector, and then was it in the summer you and me and Russ tried it out, and we broke one of the films. I'm amazed the projector works and the sound works. So.
Where did you find them?
Do we need to identify where we found them?
No.
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 So,
No, no.
yeah.
Top secret.
Somewhere.
The structure where they were is no longer there. So, we rescued these. I didn't think they would be playable when we got them because they've probably been in the cans and in that building for 60 years. You know? So we saw the Southwest Pacific campaign, which is the early '43, and the projector's probably 60 years old. So it's amazing we were able to play all this stuff at this time.
Well, thank you for rescuing that.
All artifacts now, and that's the way you would have saw this in the 1960s. You know, you wouldn't have. There are no videos. There's no big screen TVs.
Walter, they talked a lot about the LSTs. From what I understand, there's only one LST that's afloat right now. They saved it and they're trying to move it to get it taken care of.
And there was one set of landing craft that was built in the area over at Harris Steel. Not these. These were too big, and they would truck it from Harris Steel in South Plainfield down Oak Tree Road into Perth Amboy, and launch them in the Arthur Kill.
What it said about only one LST left, the US made over 1,000. And my father was on number 916. So he said he turned 18 on his way through the Panama Canal, on his way out toward one of the battles out there. And it turned out to be the battle in Peleliu. But he said the industrial machine was so well coordinated that what he called the war workers were still on the ship. So the ship was built in Boston. When Navy guys got on board, they were sailing down the East Coast, and the war workers were putting finishing touches on the ship. They got to Virginia Beach, and the war workers got on the train and went back to the shipyard up in Boston to work on the next ship, and then their ship continued around and they stopped somewhere else and put some of the guns on, the anti-aircraft guns, and continued. So he used to talk all the time about these invasions and how they would go in very slowly and either offload offshore, so you had like these amphibious tractors going in, or they'd come right in on the beach and unload. And you know, the Japanese didn't give up, they were tough. So sometimes they're unloading the ship and using their anti-aircraft guns to shoot into the jungle, to shoot back at the defenders in the island. In any event, 1,000 of these ships, and we made so many others, just in like a 3 or 4 year
At the
period.
beginning, you saw the Amtrak, what they used originally to come ashore. And then towards the end there, you saw Higgins boats, and the Higgins boat was built down in Louisiana and New Orleans area, and the guy down there is the one who designed it. And so that Higgins boat was when it became one of the main factors. Eisenhower said was for things like the Jeep and the Higgins boat, you wouldn't have had, you know, what you have today.
Now, you all remember Camp Kilmer? Yeah. Pearl Harbor was on December 7th, 1941. By July 42, they're moving troops into Camp Kilmer. That's how fast that was built. And the reason they knew, they picked that site for Camp Kilmer, one of the reasons they had looked at it in World War I for Raritan Arsenal. So they knew the area, and they knew to move the troops in and out, all the railroads that could connect to that. So that's why Camp Kilmer. But they started on that right away after Pearl Harbor. And then you saw, this is 2 years after Pearl Harbor, we have the LSTs and things like that, which we didn't have before Pearl Harbor. That's how fast they produce things.
Edison train station wouldn't be there if it wasn't for Camp Kilmer, right? They would have never built that train station.
Or we could just, you wanna move it out of the way? I'll just move it, okay, yeah. Now, Rob's got some photos. Rob's father,
No, my
grandfather, yeah, his grandfather was in the, Air Corps in World War II.
Sorry.
And he was a photographer. And in Rob's archives, he's got the photos.
Hopefully it works.
Yeah. Hopefully it works. We need power.
Is there one of them in there or not?
Yeah, there should be.
That door?
We were kind of suffering over here.
You should have said something, I would have just kidding. I didn't know the photos I had, and they started Hammerfield Air Force Base in 1944, and then it continued, then it moves into photos from occupied Japan a month after the A-bomb was dropped, and there's some aerial photos and stuff like that. I'll try and
These are the,
Thank you.
the night fighters.
there we go.
B-25.
So these are all photos that my grandfather took. He was an aerial photographer.
B-17, yeah.
And he was going to Rochester Institute of Technology, and he was working on the experimental camera. And then the war broke out, and they took him to Yale and trained him for 2 years there. And then he was commissioned as an officer and sent to Hammerfield Air Force Base, and shortly thereafter occupied Japan. So these are a lot of his photos. Fortunately, I mean, the captions are small on them, but later in life he was able to write on the back of all the photos and most of his lives, so we know what they were and where they were from. Yeah.
Yeah. You didn't walk back there, I can tell you that. The United States and England were the only two countries that developed a 4-engine bomb, long-range, heavy bomb.
You can see it's just leveled in some of these pictures. A lot of them are the ruins at Hiroshima, and the ruins at Nagasaki. It's just, it's even hard for me to tell if you're not you'd have to be an aerial expert to determine what's destroyed on the ground.
Was your grandfather a pilot as well?
No.
World War II was the first war where they actually assigned people to film these things. So you can imagine, you saw the guys going in there and shooting with machine guns and rifles or whatever, and or sitting in tanks, and then you have these guys walking around with a 8mm camera